All right, ladies, continuing on in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we are on page 130. Those of us who have spent much time in the world of spiritual make-believe have eventually seen the childishness of it. This dream world has been replaced by a great sense of purpose, accompanied by a growing consciousness of the power of God in our lives. We have become to believe He would like us to keep our heads in the clouds with Him, but that our feet ought to be planted on earth. That is where our fellow travelers are, and that is where our work must be done. These are the realities for us. We have found nothing incompatible between a powerful spiritual experience and a life of sane and happy usefulness. One more suggestion. Whether the family has spiritual convictions or not, they may do well to examine the principles by which the alcoholic member is trying to live. They can hardly fail to approve these simple principles, though the head of the house still fails somewhat in practicing them. Nothing will help the man who is off on a spiritual tangent so much as the wife who adopts a sane and spiritual program, making a better practical use of it. There will be other profound changes in the household. Liquor incapacitated father for so many years that mother became head of the house. She met these responsibilities gallantly. By force of circumstances, she was often obliged to treat father as a sick or wayward child. Even when he wanted to assert himself, he could not, for his drinking placed him constantly in the wrong. Mother made all the plans and gave the directions. When sober, father usually obeyed. Thus, mother, through no fault of her own, became accustomed to wearing the family trousers. Father, coming suddenly to life again, often begins to assert himself. This means trouble unless the family watches for these tendencies in each other and comes to a friendly agreement about them. Drinking isolates most homes from the outside world. Father may have laid aside for years all normal activities, club, civic duties, and sports. When he renews interest in such things, a feeling of jealousy may arise. The family may feel they hold a mortgage on Dad, so big that no equities should be left for outsiders. Instead of developing new channels of activity for themselves, mother and children demand he stay home and make up the deficiency. Della, remind me Camille after the meeting. She's the nurse requirement lady. Please, I just thought of that. Thank you. Sorry, things pop in my head. Okay, ladies. So those of us who live in the world of spiritual make-believe, I don't know spiritual make-believe, but I do know that, I like to keep my head in the clouds with God, but my feet firmly planted on earth. I love to be God conscious. I like to thank God first, but that I am here in the present, feet planted on the ground, helpful and useful to others. My original sponsor used to say, God is in your heart. And if we keep God in our heart, then our head's not in the clouds, and we can't go off into outer space. There it talks again about the spiritual convictions. If father's walking or the alcoholic is walking in the spiritual course of light, the family is sure to follow if they see his lead. And it's wise that the other person in the relationship pick up the spiritual toolkit as well. Profound changes in the household. Well, I don't know about y'all, but when I was in a marriage, I wore the pants regardless of whether my husband was drunk or sober, because let's just face it, us ladies are way better at organizing life in the home. But it talks there of father taking charge of the home. Well, mother was probably steering the boat in the background as well anyways, because that's just how wives keep the family going in my experience. And then, father's going to start, or the alcoholic is going to want to start picking up old activities again. And again, it speaks of the family feeling as though, maybe they should be directed more attention. Marianne.
Hi, friends. I am an alcoholic from Toronto, Canada. My name's Marianne. Grateful to be here, grateful to be sober today. And I like this chapter because this is my life right now. As a recovering alcoholic, and what my husband is feeling through what I'm reading in these pages, this is my life right now. And so I have to work really closely with you and others because my sobriety is first. And these watching these tendencies in each other, well, I'm watching them in him and me, but sometimes he doesn't see it. So it's kind of reclaiming my life. And it's a tough road. So I'm just grateful to be really here and be close to this book because that's where my instructions are. And it's a tough road. But I know I'm learning lots from it. And I know that my experience will be useful one day. So thank you for being here and thank you for letting me share.
Thanks, Marianne. And it's that fun balance we try to find, right? Like, I don't want to be too far off on a spiritual and take my feet off the ground. I'm always working on that balance, progress, not perfection. Anyone else want to share on that little read?
Hey, family. My name is Susan. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Susan.
Really grateful to be here. In that first paragraph where we talked about the dream worlds have been replaced, I, in big letters in the margin, had written balance. And that's really important for me. But when I was about 6 months sober, I remarried for the fifth time to a wonderful guy, and continued on my progress of recovery. And about 7 years into the relationship, after watching me do what I had done all those days, revealed to me that he needed to be in recovery from another addiction. And so I know that my recovery affects everyone. I need to just show up. I need to do what I'm supposed to do. Leave the rest to God, and people, that attraction rather than promotion, will hopefully jump on board. I had a drunk mom and a drunk dad, so their roles were all screwed up. There were our whole family's in this chapter. But I know that when all my prior husbands were all drunks, I would rule the roost, and then I would be pissed off at them for not having any balls. And then, when they showed some exertion, I'd be pissed off at that too, So that's really all I have to say, other than I'm very grateful to be here, and it's so wonderful to be in a book study. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Love this book. Lois in the Poconos. You can unmute. I can't see you yet.
No, I've got my water stream there today.
Oh, gotcha.
I just came home from work. I'm a little frazzled. But, I'm like Susan. I was pissed off all the time. I was running the show, and I was pissed off if they did what I wanted, and I was pissed off if they didn't. I talk about neurotic. I think because I wasn't drinking that much at the time, the person that's dealing with the alcoholic sometimes gets much sicker than the alcoholic is, because I was present for everything that was going on, and he just wasn't. So I had to learn to let things go, and I had to learn to pick my battles. And I can remember my husband first getting sober the first time he went to treatment, which wasn't the only time, but he came home and said, there should be a lot of more money around, and I was writing the checks and stuff. So he immediately got the checkbook so that he could realize that the money wasn't there because it just wasn't there. He was spending it, and I couldn't think of any other way to do it but to just give him the checkbook and let him figure it out for himself without having a big fight about it. So, that's just my take on it. We all have different situations, and we've got to navigate our way through it. And luckily, I had a bit of a program, so through Al-Anon, so I knew not to rock the boat all the time, but to allow him to start realizing the gravity of his disease, because he really didn't want to understand it. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Lois. I can totally relate to that. Aloha, Lisa. Aloha.
Aloha. I'm Lisa. I'm an alcoholic. And I just, the first part of your reading, and I just had to point it out because it's an explanation of how once we get this spiritual awakening, we can go all overboard and just like keep our heads in the clouds and no reality. But I watched you've been doing this for quite some time, Kimberly, and I watched, it talks about, it says, he would like us to keep our heads in the clouds with him, but that our feet ought to be firmly planted on the earth. And that's where our fellow travelers are. That is the work, that is where our work must be done. These are the realities for us. We have found nothing incompatible with powerful spiritual experience and a life of sane and happy usefulness. That's our instructions. So when I'm listening to you, you were reading some of that and you stopped. And here you are, you're doing the usefulness to us by reading this and going over it with us. And you had that thought, you stopped, I watched you, you got an intuitive thought. You said, Della, Camille, and you did that. And that's where we're still, you've got the spirituality, you're getting the messages coming in from higher power. But at the same time, you're keeping your head firmly, planted, or your feet firmly planted on the earth by doing the next right thing, staying with reading this and going over this with us women. But I just watched something real spiritual happen with that. And I just wanted to share. That's how we do it. We don't even know how we do it. It just happens. And we get a lot of messages from spiritual, from the source up above. And when it pops in, we got to address it. But at the same time, we're going to keep walking the walk and doing the next right thing. Anyway, that's all I had to share because I saw it happen right in front of my eyes and I love it. Okay.
You made it sound more graceful than it feels in my head because I feel Looney Tunes sometimes because I'm like, doot, 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 doot. Like all these, I'm like, I get like so many weird things happen in my mind sometimes. It's hard to, thank you. It sounds way better when you say it, Joanne. Oh. You got to unmute, love. There. You look so vacation-y today.
I know.
Oh,
it's that beach.
yes.
I'm Joanne. I'm an alcoholic addict, and I just wanted to share a gem from an old timer that I heard a long time ago, and I've always kept it close to my heart. I'm from New England, but she was from Texas. She said once, she goes, "Just don't get so spiritual that you lose your footing." And I really like that. Just make sure that your feet are planted, and it's a balance. That's it. That's all I wanted to share on that.
Thank you. You made me think. I went to a meeting once, and I had my hair all did, and I was wearing heels. And my first sponsor, Joseph Keats, he's so funny. Anyways, I says, he's like, "Why y'all dressed up? You're distracting at this meeting." And I was like, "Well, the higher the heels, the closer to God." And he's like, "God's in your heart. Go read your book." And I was like, okay. Always messing it up. I've come a long way. Let me tell you. All right. So continuing on, I don't see anybody waving. At the very beginning, the couple ought to frankly face the fact that each will have to yield here and there if the family is going to play an effective part in the new life. Father will necessarily spend much time with other alcoholics, but this activity should be balanced. New acquaintances who know nothing of alcoholism might be made and thoughtful consideration given their needs. The problems of the community might engage attention. Though the family has no religious connections, they may wish to make contact with or take membership in a religious body. Alcoholics who have derided religious people will be helped by such contacts. Being possessed of a spiritual experience, the alcoholic will find he has much in common with these people, though he may differ with them on many matters. If he does not argue about religion, he will make new friends and is sure to find new avenues of usefulness and pleasure. He and his family can be a bright spot in such congregations. He may bring new hope and new courage to many a priest, minister, or rabbi who gives his all to minister our troubled world. We intend the foregoing as a helpful suggestion only. So far as we are concerned, there is nothing obligatory about it. As non-denominational people, we cannot make up others' minds for them. Each individual should consult his own conscience. Of course, I got some funny stories about everything, but talking about the couple yielding here and there, my sponsor has said to me, relationships aren't 50-50. Sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes I have to do more work than others. It's an ebb and flow, and I had always thought it was a 50-50 kind of deal. And this is speaking of that, sometimes my service calendar is super, super packed and my partner's is not so much. And, it's an ebb and a flow. We figure it out. And then some days his is stacked more than mine is. And some weeks it's pretty simple. Today seems like a simple day. Afternoon, I'm free the rest of the day. But, things pop up. And so, having that ebb and flow is really important. Now, talking about the alcoholics and the religious affiliations, I know I've spoken of my church going a few times. So, as I got to know God more, I wanted to know him more. I was so curious about God, and I just wanted more information. I'm an information girl. I'm like, give me the knowledge, give me the knowledge. And so I had my journey, which brought me to church, which turned out was there the whole time. But I found that my service commitments in AA, conflicted with my service and my wanting to attend church. The timing wasn't there. And of course, my recovery is based on my service in this fellowship. And so, even though sometimes Pastor Cheryl will say, hey, I never see you at church, and give me a bit of a hard time, it's that this AA church comes first to me. This is my roots and my foundation. And I have a funny story about, how taking. I wanted to take from church. And I went there and, I took the Alpha course. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the Alpha course. And I went there and I wanted to take something from there. I was looking for knowledge. And so I got there and I said, this seems like a beginner course on God. I know him better than that through AA. And so I was kind of shutting the door on it. And then, in my meditation, it came, well, maybe you're there to give, Kim. Stop wanting to take and see what you can add to it. Because I was like, I know all this. I got all this from AA. And it was funny. And then sure enough, as I gave, I received. And I kind of found a different avenue, which I was able to receive from, in that I would go to church on Saturday nights at 5:00. I would listen to what was said, and then I would go to my home group at 8:00 and I would reword it to fit AA. And I was able to learn more and get closer to God through that. And I was able to give in my attending the Alpha. I almost walked out. I was like, this is for beginners with God. I want the advanced course. I'm here to get closer to him. No. In order to get closer, you got to give it away. Yeah. Oh, okay. Progress, not perfection. I see Marianne laughing and giving me a thumbs up. But that's me, right? What can I take? What can I take? No. What can I give in order to receive? So before we move on, is there anybody that wants to? Good morning, Joan. Do you have your happy hat today? She does.
Of course, we have our hat today.
All right.
I don't know if I've shared this before, but I am the Reverend Joan Cheryl. I'm ordained in the Episcopal Church. But I also told my priest one time that I may have found God in the church, but I sure found my faith in AA. Mm-hmm. And that is the absolute truth of it. And I know what you're talking about, the service work, and because I got a lot of service work I have to do for the church too. So for me, I was asked that question by the bishop one time. If I had to make a decision, how would I handle it? And I just told him that I could not ever even fathom a time that there would have to be a decision between AA and my church. And there hasn't been. Now, sometimes there are conflicting meetings, and I have to make a decision. Okay, do I go to this clergy meeting or do I go to this AA meeting? And it's pretty much where my spiritual conditioning is, and that's easy to reconcile. But I also have reconciled a lot of, I mean, Bill W., we always think he has made this whole thing up. Well, just for the record, he didn't. A lot of it comes straight from the New Testament. I gotta tell you. And I find it humorous every time I read the big book and I'm going, oh, yeah, that's in Matthew 25. I mean, it's pretty amazing, especially the part where they talk about the road gets narrower. Well, that is for Matthew. The road to our faith gets narrower also. So, I find no conflict, but I thought that was very funny where they said, and the alcoholic can help a priest. And I'm going, oh, or a pastor or whatever. I mean, we can't help everybody, just for the record, I don't think. But I will have to say that I am questioned a lot about AA when I go to clergy conferences. A whole lot, which I find fairly amazing. That's just looking at it from maybe a different side.
That's so cool.
Yes, of course I have my hat, but I'm happy, so I didn't have to wear it.
I forgot you were a pastor.
Oh my God.
I knew that, but I forgot. My brain's got too much going on. That's so cool.
We're getting more and more North Carolinians in here.
That's awesome.
I mean, I see 3 on this page.
That's fantastic. I love it. And I just love learning more. And I just got a Bible for the first time since I was maybe 10 years old. I found it. We went antiquing, and it's a beautiful white, like girly Bible with not a scratch on it. And it was like so cheap. I was like, oh my God, who would do this? So it's like, just always wanting more and more to enhance that relationship to God. And I mean, that's what this is all about. Lois. Oh, we hit it. Oh, can you do it? My hands are free.
Okay, we got it now. I too, like you said, once I got into AA, I wanted more. So I was in a church that sort of is very big on having small groups. So for me, it was just like going to an AA meeting. You sit around and you talk with each other about the things that are going on in your life, and it's nice to be able to share the Christian part of the program with the people that are Christians. I don't know if I'm saying that very, very well, but they seem to have a deeper understanding of the faith sometimes, and then I can bring something else to the table because of my recovery. And when our pastor Joan there said we can't always help the pastor that we have at our church, but certainly because I've been very honest with my pastor, I've given him hope that other people can recover like I did, and he can guide them to other people that are in recovery and also in very deep in the faith that we're part of. So it does enhance your program. That's what I was getting at. And I've got something called the Recovery Bible, which actually, as I go through it, there are certain sections that they will point out with how probably the Oxford group, which was an early Christian group that Bill went to, how they got some of the tenets and the parts that they use in the AA program from the New Testament. Yes. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks so much. And I know you can find the 12 steps in like the regular Bible as well. Joe's got it all highlighted and circled and scratched all up. So I'm going to copy his homework. Marianne.
So I do have a funny story after I first sobered up and I was in recovery, and I remember going to church, and the minister had said his sermon, and I remember thinking, yeah, this is like AA. I know all this. And then a thought came to me, because I looked around and I started puffing up, like my chest puffing up. And then a thought came to me, yeah, but these people have lived it all their lives. And it just kind of deflated that ego. And I still have to watch that even when I'm in the rooms too. Because somebody will talk about AA and I go, I know that. And it's like, it's amazing how that ego will just puff up. But I had that. It's like, I look at it now, because it was a few years ago. I look at it now and I go, wow, it's almost like a spiritual experience to realize you're doing that, to get grounded again. And anyway, I thought I'd share. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my name is Susan. I'm an alcoholic. I just want to mention, when I got sober, I was very important, in case you didn't know that, job and all that stuff. And my sponsor told me that one of her prayers was always every morning to ask God to help her be a good steward of her time. And that's a prayer I try to use every day, because it helps me with my balance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? I got the whole next section highlighted, so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We have been speaking to you of serious, sometimes tragic things. We have been dealing with alcohol in its worst aspect. But we aren't a glum lot. If newcomers could see no joy or fun in our existence, they wouldn't want it. We absolutely insist on enjoying life. We try not to indulge in cynicism over the state of the nations, nor do we carry the world's troubles on our shoulders. When we see a man sinking into the mirror that is alcoholism, we give him first aid and place what we have at his disposal. For his sake, we do recount and almost relive the horrors of our past. But those of us who have tried to shoulder the entire burden and trouble of others find we are soon overcome by them. So we think cheerfulness and laughter make for usefulness. Outsiders are sometimes shocked when we burst into merriment over a seemingly tragic experience out of the past. But why shouldn't we laugh? We have recovered and have been given the power to help others. Everybody knows that those in bad health and those who seldom play do not laugh much. So let each family member play together or separately as much as their circumstances warrant. We are sure God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. We cannot subscribe to the belief that this life is a vale of tears, though it once was just that for many of us. But it is clear that we made our own misery. God didn't do it. Avoid then the deliberate manufacture of misery, but if trouble comes, cheerfully capitalize it as an opportunity to demonstrate His omnipotence. Omnipotence. Ugh. I do that every time. Anyways, now that I've got my pronunciation lesson for the day, I love this paragraph, or these two paragraphs. We are not a glum lot. We need to show that there's joy here. We need to show that after we've recovered and overcome this seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, that life is magnificent. I still make mistakes. I am the first to laugh at myself when I make mistakes. My favorite thing is I'll be like, oh, I'm such a dork. Because I don't have that shame, that guilt, that pride, that ego that I have to be perfect all of the time. I take this seriously, very seriously, that I'm not glum. Like I am happy, joyous, and free, and that is the light that I need to shine for others to want this. I've gone to meetings and people stand there and they're like, oh, my job sucks. My work boots leave blisters. I'm so grateful to be here today. I just got 2 more hours and I've got 1 more day sober. Jesus, fuck, that sounds horrible. If that's sobriety, I'm out. Where's the bar? Like, no fucking way. It's like, gee whiz, oh, 1 more day. Oh, I got through it. My cat died, but it's okay. I'm gonna hit the pillow sober tonight. Like, Lord have mercy on my soul. I don't want that type of sobriety. This is the sobriety I want. Peace and serenity in my mind and my heart, and joy in my life, and being able to laugh at myself. And that's what we're seeking here. I've got this whole page highlighted because this is like, first I had it highlighted because that's what I wanted, and then I had it highlighted because I'm like, this is what you got to know. Yes. Oh, save the dead cats for your sponsor, and I hope she hangs up on you if you start talking about it. Man, oh man. Marianne.
I can't stop laughing. Sorry.
You've heard them share like that. Like, you've heard it.
I have certainly heard it. And actually, I think the person who took me through this book kind of in a nice way pointed out that maybe I was like that, because she had me highlighted and she had me put in the margin. The only thing the big book insists on is that. And that's the only time it is set, insists. So when she had me do that and I went, okay, it was a nice way of pointing out that, we're not here. We're not sober just to be a drag, like not enjoy things anymore. And I take it too heavy sometimes, right? So again, balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Sometimes I just want to be like, where's the hope in your share? Experience, strength, and hope. Joanne always has hope.
Let me unmute.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, I'm good.
Gotcha.
So, time takes time, and thank God for the people that are happy, joyous, and free. I needed them when I came around, because my drug of choices were barbiturates and alcohol and depression, and that's what I knew. And I was lost and felt alone, and sometimes I thought the only way I could get any attention was to just emote how I felt, and maybe someone might pay attention to me and offer some relief. It was a confusing time in my life. But I had a sponsor who used to say to me, in your actions, what's your investment? What's your investment? What's the payoff? And I had to be able to look at, why was I walking around, in a glum lot? And part of it was I was terrified that if I really believed this was going to work and I was going to get happy, that somewhere along the line, my higher power and my faith wasn't big right back then. I was afraid I was going to lose it, and I wasn't going to get into that heartache It's like, I'm not sure this is going to work, so don't get too excited. you know, but then, there are people that are just so kind and wonderful. And and it was one sponsor said, can you call me when you have a good day? Just treat me. Just call me when you have a good day. And but little by little, step by step, things got better, and I could trust that if I got up in the morning and I asked for help, that I would get the help, and I would get to a meeting, and there would be the people that I care about, that they cared about. And it was just step after step. Last night, I was at the 164, and Max celebrated, and I heard him say something about how his sponsor kind of, interprets anniversaries. I am so sick of people's opinions about anniversaries. I do not have to apologize for being an alcoholic. I am not going to apologize for having 39 years. I am grateful that I have 39 years. I did not do it alone, and I thank everybody that showed up through the good times, the bad times. I have a story of when I got married, I had children, when my parents died. I have a lifetime, coming into the program and getting sober young. I have a lifetime of sobriety that the program promises me. So why do I have to be embarrassed? I'm like, I'm so done. I'm just like done. I like, let's dance, let's party, let's say, hooray, I didn't die. Yay. And, but again, I just, the only thing that I counter with that is there was an old timer once who had a friend after long term sobriety went out, and he drove down to Florida, and he says, what happened? And the guy said, I just had too many years and not enough days.
Mm.
And if you stay in the days add up 2 years, and then you get to have a moment where you go, oh my God, I made another year. And the interesting thing about getting sober young was I thought once I got sober, I was going to be I'd become an adult and everything would be just fine. What I didn't realize is I got sober, I had to grow up.
Hmm.
I had to grow just like everybody else, just like everybody else. And the good news is that I've had a whole support of loving, caring people around me that just say, "Hey, try this. If it doesn't work, try that. Just don't drink. Just don't drink, and then give it a shot. And if it doesn't work, do something else." And I'm so grateful. So, anyways, that's what I wanted to share. Thanks.
Thanks so much. So much goodness in there. Aloha, Lisa.
Okay, aloha again. Yeah, I like what Joanne just said about it's just living in the day, and I don't want to lose my train of thought here. The part of that, when you have that many days and live in that moment and know this, and you get that much time, you get to do. That's why this instruction book, I love it on 133 where it says, we are sure God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free. We cannot subscribe to the belief that this life is a vale of tears, though it once was for many of us. But it's clear that we made our own misery. God didn't do it. So avoid then. This is the part that it's the instructions. Avoid then the deliberate manufacturing of misery. So when somebody comes in whining and they're sober and they have everything to be grateful for or happy, a little bit happy, more happy than they were, they don't even know how to express themselves because we have lived in that chaos for so long. That's our only way that we have ever had to get attention a lot of times, at least for this alcoholic, me. And so that deliberate manufacturing of misery, so I can tell people my pain, so then I can have them communicate with me, and then I feel a hindrance. I didn't know how to express the other part yet. And then the other instruction is, but if trouble comes, cheerfully capitalize on it as an opportunity to demonstrate his omnipotence. That's God's power. And so if it does come, that we are able through the fellowship, through all the things that we know, talking to sponsors, having, prayer and meditation, we can walk through really terrible things and stay sober. And then also, I want to add just one more part to that is when we do get trouble, we can turn it around also if we walk. Time takes time to get this part, but then if we can walk through it, then we can find out what was the lesson God had for us. There's a lesson in all of it too. So and it takes time sometimes to look back and go, oh, God was trying to teach me this. So part of that, to me, that it's all highlighted, underlined, and everything, because those were instructions for me, because I did all of those things, and I've walked through grief and pain, and I've shown other people. But we got to keep this all really tight, and we got to keep remembering it. That's why we're going through it all. But I love the part about having it be the lesson. What was the lesson in that? And then when we can know why that all happened, we kind of start to understand this source that we call God. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kelowna, over on the beach in Hawaii.
Yes, aloha everybody. My name's Kelowna. I'm an alcoholic, and aloha Lisa has been a friend of mine for many years. She used to live here. So now that she's in Florida, that's how they know which Lisa people are talking about. But what I wanted to bring up was, when I first got sober, because I've been in this is my second time around, and God willing, the last time. But I still had that party girl in me, and I went out dancing as soon as I got out of the rehab and I could be free. I went out and I enjoyed, dancing, and I didn't, I don't know. I was just so joyful that I was clean. However, I know for me now, looking back, that was probably not the best thing that I could do, is just go straight to a bar afterwards. But one of the main, really important things is when I came back in, and because I got sober first in the mainland, and then the second time I got sober is when I came home broken with my tail between my legs, and I got sober again here in Hawaii. I got to see how having a good time was something that was going to be happening a lot here where I was, because we have good weather almost all year round, and there was activities going on. I was in a group that had an activities chair, and they used to create activities throughout the year, and a lot of groups here do that. And I got to learn, really how it was to not go in those places where I could, come out with a haircut, but go to places where there were other people like-minded, having the time of their lives, celebrating anniversaries, birthdays, going to dances, Halloween parties, and so forth. So yeah, this thing about not being a glum lot, I finally know where that is in the book. So I love this. I'm continuing to learn every session. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thanks, Kelowna. That's all we can do, is keep learning, right? If you're not growing, you're dying. Karen M., Bella, and...
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good heavens, that's weird. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for participating in this. This is wonderful. I didn't know where We Are Not a Glum Lot is either, and now I can say I know exactly where it is. Thank you. I had not a confrontation. I was working at another meeting, AA meeting, last night, and a gentleman who was a newcomer kept asking me questions in the chat, and it really bothered me. And I thought, I really don't want to talk to another guy in the program. I don't want to talk to anyone who's a newcomer who doesn't have a sponsor. And he kept asking questions, and I wrote back and I said, well, here's my email. I could give him my email. I didn't want to give him my telephone number for obvious reasons. But I gave him my email, and we continued on the chat for about half an hour. And the guy was interested in why in the world I converted to another religion. And I had to think about it, and I thought, well, the real reason is that they were joyous in their praise of God. And I was excited to see how ecstatic they were in praising God together. And that is what I need to not be part of the glum lot. I need to see people who are joyous and happy. And I've never really had that in my life. I now know with 23 years of sobriety that I get to be as joyous as I want to be. And if I can show other people that, then that's just wonderful. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Karen. Joan. And Susan, you'll go after Joan. Okay.
Oh, I just wanted to have people look over at the chat to get the ID for Catherine's talk tonight.
She's covering her eyes.
I love to embarrass younger people.
We'll make sure to announce it again after the meeting as well, so everyone can write it down. Susan.
Hello, family. I'm an alcoholic. My name is Susan. When I got here, all I wanted to do was complain. My poor, miserable life. And my sponsor, I had some old school sponsors. They got me in the book right away. And my sponsor said to me, first of all, she told me she wasn't my friend. So I was fucking devastated by that. But, she said, if you want to complain about your miserable life, you call your network. I want to know 3 things, Susan. What meeting did you go to today? What step are you working on? And did you do the next right thing? Those are the 3 things that you and I are going to talk about. And I can tell you that, things like when my mom died in sobriety, I'm going to tell you what my sponsor told me. She told me you step over the body and you go to a meeting. You got 10 minutes to cry, Susan, and then you go help somebody. And I'm not going to make a big deal out of this, but it is about me. I haven't talked to my sponsor about it yet. She's online here with me. Most people here in North Carolina know I've got some serious health issues. I got a big surgery coming up. But my cousin was murdered yesterday. Mm. And, I'm really sad. But that's okay. I don't have to drink over that today. I know what sadness looks like. It just is what it is. And it's a reason to be sad, but it is not a reason to drink, nor is it a reason to feel sorry for myself. It's a reason to show what God looks like. It is a reason for God to show what God's omnipotence looks like, because my prayers are for my cousin's family and her soul and the people that suffer tragedies like this. And my sponsor always told me the greatest gift we have is our story. And our story is we don't drink no matter what. Absolutely, no matter what. If I stay in this book, I stay connected to God and the beautiful faces of God in this room like I'm looking at. There's nothing that I cannot go through in sobriety and walk through on the other side, showing what God looks like. Thank you.
So beautiful, Susan. Thank you for that. It's working with other alcoholics and addicts. We get so close to death so frequently. And Joe and I were discussing this the other day, that sometimes we almost seem like we have some easiness with death, but it's just, we've got God and we're able to process. And I love how you said your prayers are for the family. So many times I hear people, they hear of someone who's passed away, especially in my community, of overdose, and they make it about themselves. And it's like, we have to think of others even in our time of grief. And that's a way we can process it, by praying for the family, praying for the children if there's children. Thank you for that share. Jeanette, I see you down there called iPhone. I know your name.
Yes, once again, my technology is behind my sobriety, I guess you could say. When I came into the program in 98, it was in July of 98, I thought, how am I ever going to have fun? I thought my life was over, that I was going to be miserable. In the very first meeting that I went to, there was a gentleman sharing, and he was hysterical. He was hysterical, laughing about being up in Maine on vacation with his family. And back then they had the blue laws, so he couldn't buy any liquor on Sunday. And he just had everybody hysterical laughing. And I realized at that point, what I hadn't realized, what was going on, was there was no laughter in my life. None. Zippo. So I guess it was like, yeah, maybe this isn't as horrible as I think it's going to be. And it was enough to get me, to the next meeting and continue. I'd like to say that I was successful in sobriety my first attempt, but I wasn't. It took a couple other times. But I'm part of a group that when they're open, when this COVID-D settles down, we bring a meeting, an outreach meeting to a nursing and facility and rehabilitation center. And we do the grapevine. And one of the gals that lives there, because she can no longer go out to meetings, so we bring a meeting in. In the back of the grapevine is a joke, or jokes, a list of jokes. And so before we leave her for the week, we always have her reading one of the jokes. And it lifts you up. It takes you out of what's going on in your life. And even my sponsor and I, when we walk in the morning, before we leave each other to start our day, we talk about what we're or what we're grateful for in our life. And we name 3 things. And, sometimes it's just a matter of the roof didn't leak last night, my sheets are clean. But we always, always are grateful that we're sober, that no matter what's going on in our life, that temporary fix, that chase of a drink, isn't going to fix it permanently. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. All right, ladies, it's 2 minutes to. We have 2 pages, or 3. Keep going or do the 3 next time? If we do the 3, we're not going to have any time for discussion.
Next time.
Next time. I agree.
Would you like a drunk joke?
Okay, let's stop the tape first. Sorry to those listening in.